and Cointelegraph agrees with you. They say in the broadest way, the discourse surrounding crypto has shifted from what to do with it to how to do it. And so 2022 is, as you pointed out, how do all the enterprise companies and large brands onboard, safely into the space using some of these opportunities that we discuss here every week, these business models surrounding NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs. Um, I don't think there's anyone on planet Earth at this point who hasn't heard about these opportunities at the moment. And that's what's really wonderful. Hey, CJ, how are you?
Hola,
Would you like to
doing good.
introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I'm kind of painting a wall at the moment, but CJ, VGF, video game freak, operator and marketer in the space. Um, have had my hands in a bunch of projects and currently in process of legally establishing 12 DAOs as a part of a project that I'm working with. So hence my interest in being here today. So um, kind of the DAOs within DAOs and sub DAOs,
Oh,
and
I want to hear all about that.
oh
I've
yeah,
got
it's all sorts of fun.
because we have the Billionaire Zombies Club DAO, and I'm the co-organizer of that, and we're transitioning from member managed to algorithmically managed as we move those things over. But having a main DAO, but then I want to have like the marketing DAO, the dev DAO, that like those different ones where those are the people who are contributing to that piece of the community. Do those have to be separate DAOs or like divisions in a corporation? Or can you run everything under the same DAO?
So I think it's more of a strategic decision than like the ability to do one or the other. They're certainly both feasible. For our use case, we have sub DAOs. So for Meta Heroes, one of the projects I'm working with, each individual planet has its own tokens of governance, fungible, semi-fungible 1155s, and then the up DAO, which is like you can sort of think about it like state and federal government. The states, the planets, all have their individual governance that they can choose to take votes on to affect each planet, and then all of those planets for anything to do with the entire ecosystem goes to the UpDAO, which there are no tokens for the UpDAO. It's all weighted percentage votes of the individual planets. So each of the planets have a stake of shared vote in how the entire ecosystem is then governed. So in our use case, each of the individual planets is its own DAO, and then there is the sort of parent DAO that takes its governance from the majority votes of the planets beneath it. So a little bit of a different framework there. I think in your case, it's more a strategic decision of whether or not you want the individual kind of dev DAO, marketing DAO, whatever, to have votes in how the entire organization is run, or if you run them and manage them separately. And then obviously whether or not those tokens of governance are the same or different.
Yeah, I was looking at the way that Pivx was run because I thought that they actually managed to do really, really well driving that token up to $12. That was like, holy cow, now it's down to like, a fraction of a penny or whatever. But the way that they had done it was anyone holding could submit a proposal, and then the master nodes would vote. And to me, that seems a lot like a DAO.
Well, and the definition of DAO is very loosely held right now.
Yeah.
We're going the route of legally incorporated LLC
Oh,
wrappers for
yep.
our DAOs.
That's what we are, legally incorporated LLC. Gotta love me some Wyoming. I'm very happy that I went and lobbied for all the blockchain stuff with Caitlin Long because now I know everybody.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we did both stateside and international corporations. So again,
Oh,
just levels of difficulty.
where did you do international? What jurisdiction?
I would actually have to double check on that one. Fenwick and West is our representation, helping us oversee all the establishment of all that. So I'd have to double check with them. Um, but yeah, so having those formal legal entities wrapping the DAOs for legal protection of all the participants versus kind of that general partnership liability. Um, Definitely high on like my priority list. I I, I don't necessarily want to like participate in all of these quote unquote DAOs that many of them aren't really. A lot of them are just varying degrees of decentralized and very like most of them not very autonomous. And so in that respect, most of them are just organizations. But yeah, sorry, that's a whole nother diatribe.
Yeah, I am the legal and compliance zealot because that's my number one thing. I like to make sure that everything is fully verified because that's part of the due diligence when you're looking at projects is, what is the likelihood of longevity of a project if they've actually committed to being a corporate entity structure. That's like plus 10 points right there. If they've got everybody on their LinkedIn acknowledging that they're an advisor or a team member, that's plus 50 points. If they've got social media accounts that are more than a week old, heck, more than a year old, that's even better. But, there's all these different things. I should actually put a scorecard together for due diligence.
That would actually be pretty funny.
Right?
Yeah, because like most things that profess themselves as DAOs are
Aren't.
either at the protocol level like extremely decentralized, and autonomous in the sense that they take a token snapshot, have some kind of governance voting, whether or not that's on chain or there's kind of a spectrum of decentralization there, um, or they're extremely exclusive DAOs, quote unquote DAOs. Usually KYC verified. You're practically an accredited investor at that point, and I would argue that they're very centralized, right? Like they have very high entry points, usually like very high net worth, and it's more kind of along the lines of a syndicate at that point. Um, it's just under the guise of being a DAO, and just because you do on-chain governance voting, it kind of is loosely defined as a DAO. But that's where I think like DAOs are very much just a shift from the traditional corporate hierarchy structure, and that it's kind of an umbrella term that can encompass quite a bit of org structures.
Yeah, we are fully transitioning to DAO on January 10th at our King's Council meeting. I want to give a big shout out and say hello to my zombies in the audience. I love you guys.
How did Chris get down in the audience?
That
I
was my
just invited
fault.
him back.
Yeah, I was trying to make him a moderator. That was my
Oh, I
fault.
had already modded him, so maybe, I don't know.
Sorry, Chris.
When you disappeared, I modded him.
Thank you. So basically, in this DAO structure, CJ, that you're describing, I wanted to ask you, why have these layers? Like, why do you need these layers of DAOs? What makes it better in terms of running the business that way?
Well, so one would argue it's maybe not the most efficient way, or the easiest way to go about doing it. Certainly, centralization has its trade offs in um, being able to make strategic decisions for the sake of the company as quick as possible. Uh, One of the core initiatives for Pixel Vault in particular was pushing the envelope around DAOs in relation to NFTs. So having our governance tokens being semi-fungible 1155s for the founders DAO, some of them being 721s, and then having all of these NFT tokens of governance going towards the community-owned, community-governed gameverse that we're developing. So the layers of the DAOs are serving their individual function of different game environments within that ecosystem. And then the sub DAOs serving the purpose of kind of being that state level governments or organization, and then feeding their votes into kind of the quote unquote federal level, governing how the entire gameverse is going to be developed and kind of proceed. So it's as much a kind of social experiment as it is a technological hurdle. But yeah, that's kind of this purpose it serves.
So each game inside this environment has its own DAO. And so do players in the game get to kind of manage the DAO, or is it still the creators? How is that each individual DAO structured?
So the company withholds 45% of the vote. So the company itself does have tokens of governance in how how the decisions are made, but it's never a majority vote. And so in that sense, the community always has a majority say in how the game development will proceed. But it's kind of like we can't speak on behalf of the entire community, and like obviously we have our vision of how things are going to develop, and at least strategically up until this point we've done our best to steer it in the right direction, what we see as the right direction. But ultimately, like once these DAOs are formally incorporated and all of that trickles down to the on-chain governance and all that stuff, it'll be the community that has the majority share in the direction that we take moving forward. And currently, we've got a war chest of somewhere in the ballpark of $40 million worth of Ethereum going towards the development of that game. So it should be very interesting. It's a lot of power to put into kind of the people's hands, but that's where we see it kind of as this dual technological challenge as well as this DAO and social experiment.
What's fascinating is, you know, being part of a DAO that maybe just has one layer structure, which you guys have all participated in by now. Is there something in that traditional, well, there's no traditional DAO, but in a more traditional formation than the one we're discussing right now, that makes you want to have a multi-layered approach other than a social experiment? Is there something that's not being accomplished with, a membership DAO or governance DAO or any of these formats that we already know?
I don't know if that was directed particularly towards me
Anyone who
or
wants to answer, it's just, is there something that, you participated in the DAO and you thought X, Y, or Z was not getting accomplished, or, it really wasn't solving these types of problems well at the, because we had these now for almost a decade.
I think it.
well, I go ahead,
Oh,
Adrian.
I was going to say, I think it really requires a vibrant community that is dedicated to contribution, because normally when people join projects and things like that, they put their money in and they sit back and they wait for it to grow, or they wait for other people to do stuff. So you really need to, from the get-go, when you're launching your project, make sure that everybody knows that this is a project that will succeed based on community contribution, and everyone has different skill sets, and no matter what your skill set is, there's probably a way for you to support the community and help promote it and keep everything moving forward. Literally, on a movie set where I come from, the craft services girl is literally making sure that you have snacks, right? In the terms of making a movie, that would not seem like a big thing. Trust me, it's a huge thing. Somebody's got to go unclog the toilet in the ladies' room or the men's room. Like, that's a thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with the actual widget that you're building. It has to do with supporting the community to get the widget built. So there's a role for everyone, whether it's cheerleader, helper, introducer, whatever it is, there's always a role. And as long as the community understands that there's a role for everyone, and the success of the project requires that everyone contribute something energetically, then I think it will succeed more. And if you don't have that attitude built in, then taking it to a DAO is not going to work. You got to have people that are willing to step up and like add their magic.
I agree with all that. And it's really interesting because it's not just the organizational structure of the DAO that drives the success of the venture. There are many components that go into the success, right? If you look at all the companies that are doing really well in the space and the ones that have not quite made it, it's really the ability of the company to respond to competitive pressures, the ability of the management team and the team that's building this, so the DAO, if you'd like, to actually believe in something, that they're part of a movement and not just part of another business as usual organization. And I feel that some companies have done a great job with that. Like, when I first worked with Rish on Superworld, I got his energy and his enthusiasm to kind of build this world that's a hybrid world and be somewhat of an operating system in it, and kind of a willingness to work with everyone who's building VR, AR worlds and hybrid, mixed reality worlds. Even though back then that was not such a great thing, right? His passion was to create this, and he wanted everyone to participate in it. And I feel that that sort of energy is needed in some of these DAOs, as you pointed out, Adrian, to get him to the next level. What do you guys think? Okay, I'm answering my own questions. um, let's look at the participation of the brands. So we have all the large brands coming into the space this year. CJ, you worked with some of them. Adrian, you work with some of them. What do you think is the next step for the larger brands coming into the NFTs, DeFi, DAO space? Well, how are they going to participate in a bigger way?
I think we're going to have a lot of diversity coming in because of, like I was saying before, and what Chris was talking about earlier with Solana and the way that they're building things, and it's going to make it easier to onboard people who, may never have seen themselves as a game designer or an NFT designer. So I think we're going to have a lot more diversity of thought and projects, and hopefully utility that benefits more, a larger segment than just the small fraction of crypto people that are already in it.
I think that a lot of ticketing is going to change, like access to different utilities, access to different events. I think that is where NFTs are going to be implemented a lot more. Maybe tickets for different events, or specific tickets that will give you access to different things. I think that is going to be implemented a lot more in the coming year, with a lot of brands kind of looking at changing their business models.
And if you're a brand, and you're trying to reach consumers effectively through digital channels. And Adrian, you did a lot of digital marketing, and I think CJ, you've done quite a bit of it. It seems to me that as a brand, you almost have to embark on NFTs. You almost have to explore metaverse at this point, and you almost have to look at DeFi concepts, because you don't want to be sort of left behind with the whole marketplace without trying to create that one-on-one interaction with the consumers. This is your way to touch a consumer, engage a consumer in a two-way engagement, where the consumers are kind of building part of your offering and participating in the building and strengthening of that offering. And most brands are, in search of that sort of relationship, and have been over years and have not been successful. I think these new tools give them the capacity to do that effectively.
Well, and I think to Adrian's point, I think there's going to be a breadth of angles and attempts at entering Web3 and NFTs, that there's certainly going to be some big swings and misses. Some are going to try and natively come into the space using the teams that they have that may not be as Web3 native, or be able to approach it in an authentic way. Not that there's not a lot of opportunity to make money there, because I'm sure that that there are brands that could sell out any token drops that they wanted to, but it doesn't mean that it's sustainable or healthy. And that's where I give the Adidas team a lot of credit, is they had a core group of Web3 native NFT advocates within Adidas that approached us in effort of partnering, and brought it to Adidas, kind of corporate, and brought them to the table as like this being a more authentic, sincere way to approach the space in partnership, versus coming in and making their own crack at it, or in an acquisition. So I do think that it's not like a one size fits all. There will certainly be some of those brands that go and approach the Vayner NFTs and the kind of the consulting route. There's going to be the companies that attempt to take their own crack at it. There's going to be those that come in and leverage some of the talent and existing brands within the space to do it in a more unique and authentic way. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it, but there's certainly going to be those that are more sustainable and successful than others.
And that's what's really interesting about this space to me, and good points there, CJ and Adrian, which is when you think about traditional consulting, and where you have sort of a strategy paper that a company gives to the client, the consulting company provides for the client, and then hopefully someone on in the management team actually adopts that and implements it, which is not always connected with the venture space. My experience has always been it's really kind of all hands on deck. Everybody who's participating in that venture has to pull their weight. You have to get people, top tier people, into the management team so that venture can grow and have expertise in all these areas that you guys have here on this panel, all variety of ways that you bring to the table. And that venture then has a shot, in the very competitive, fast moving, sort of innovative space. But you're now looking at enterprise companies that have established business models that are completely different than NFTs, NFT drops, right? Or collection drops, that are completely different than DeFi protocols and DeFi opportunities. And they're completely organized in a different way than even a basic DAO, like a membership DAO, right? They're organized in a fundamentally different way. How is that all going to work, beyond obviously Adidas is a great example, but beyond that, do you foresee some of these enterprise companies building their own divisions that would sort of compete with some of the unicorns in our space?
I think I think they will. I think because just I think it was just earlier today I saw that Ferrari signed a multi-year deal, partnership for um, exclusive content and NFTs and blockchain based products. So I think what they are doing now is creating teams, and bringing in people, employing more people that are experts in the field, and then just creating divisions that would then manage the whole NFTs, DeFi, and DAO arenas, really. So I think that they're just literally pouring money in and building new teams to handle these different ventures.
And that's so interesting, Frank, because in the first iteration of this, I was there with, top tier consulting firms on the planet were in crypto and blockchain early. They were in it in 2016 and 17 and 18, et cetera, et cetera. And by 2019, they had portfolio of companies in the space, all with different cryptocurrencies. and they didn't know what to do with it because they did not know how to manage, something, a relationship with a DAO. They did not know how to manage something that has jurisdiction in Singapore or Switzerland, and that some, human being on the planet outside of their geography owned tokens in it. Do you feel that in this sort of 2.0 version of this, now that you sort of have to go there again, that the large companies really have a shot at adopting some of these business models and integrating with what they've built before? I think this is going to be hard, to be honest. I look at it, and now the liquidity and the number of assets that can be held by a consumer has increased, you know, with an order of magnitude for what we've seen in those years. And large companies are organized, inside a geography or geographies according to those regulations. And they're now trying to integrate themselves inside, a multi-layered DAO that CJ is building. So it gets more complicated, I think, every day. What do you guys think?
I think it doesn't have to be more complicated. I think we make it more complicated. And I think that what we have to remember is while there are a million bells and widgets and extras that we can add to things, at the core, you have to have a very solid foundation and framework to build a business that can actually withstand the test of time and not be as massively affected by technological issues. So I am like a Polygon freak. And my whole thing was we have a plasma bridge, we can always go back to ETH2. And then yesterday, Chris freaking blew my mind. Now I'm feeling like I need to, I think I'm going to be cheating on Polygon with Solana, and it's all Chris's fault. But, he's talking about cross-chain compatibility. I'm already a huge Chainlink fan. But the things that we're going to be able to do, like the things that we can do today, we did not think about it 20 years ago. It never would have even crossed our minds, even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So we've got this exponential growth potential, and we're inventing things at the speed of light. So there's always going to be one more improvement you can make. But at the core, I think we need to learn that we need to boil it down, get the basics, get the core idea, launch it, and then improve. So like when Facebook launched, they were in beta for what, 5 or 6 years? Like that's okay. And constant iterative development is great instead of shipping every 18 months. I think that's better. But it also means we have to actually launch. Like I've been working on Foxy's for over 6 months. From when I came up with the idea, we've had the art basically done for a very long time. And I didn't launch it because it was like, well, which blockchain and why, and then which project, and then which tool to do the generative, or do I just do the hash lips and 21 lines of code, and like all of these different choices, and every single day a new choice comes out. And I think that this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs are feeling and experiencing, and we need to just do it. We just need to pull the trigger and do it and go.
I think one thing that really hit home about 2 days ago was that I don't know if you know about Blockbuster Video. But Blockbuster Video, they're trying to revive their video rental brand as a streaming service, and they want to an actual DAO investor group wants to buy it and revive it as a decentralized movie streaming service.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So that's happening. That is actually happening, and what I read as well is that they've outlined they want to raise I think at least $5 million, and they're going to be raising it with NFTs to buy the brand from Dish Network. So there's a lot of things happening in the space, and if it seems like Blockbuster may come back as a kind of a decentralized alternative to Netflix.
So we're building
That's
one of
good.
those out of Paris, and it's called Earn TV. Would you rather go to Earn TV or to Blockbuster, as a decentralized network?
Blockbuster and this whole watch to earn thing. I literally just consulted on a project the other day on that, and they're trying to put it together. And oh my goodness, I mean, there is nobody that is going to beat Blockbuster if Blockbuster does a watch to earn. It's just not. I mean, the market dominance is going to be just freaking. Like
You're
everybody's out
talking
there.
about a resurrection. It's a phoenix
Yeah.
arising from the flame. And that's the thing. There are documentaries on the rise and fall of Blockbuster. So to see it come back, its name is Blockbuster. And it would be a blockchain, right? Earn to watch like streaming service. It doesn't matter if your service is 10 times better than what their initial offering is. It's Blockbuster. And people really love nostalgia. Why else are they buying NFTs in the first place? Because you understand it from what you knew as a youngster. It helps you realize that this a collector economy exists, and then you can tokenize real world functions and assets on top of it, and then you can develop smart contracts that allow you to pay people for their time. I don't care if they're watching, learning, or playing. You're paying them for their time, and that's incredible. So to bring a powerhouse name like Blockbuster, because at the end of the day, this is all about marketing and branding. At one point, like, it doesn't matter how great your shit is, if people don't have an interest or they don't hear about it in the correct way, they're not going to buy it. But like, if you just saw, because remember, they're trying to buy the brand. So like, they can use the Blockbuster logo. It wouldn't matter who you were. If you were scanning through Twitter and you saw the Blockbuster logo, you'd stop. You'd be interested in what that said. You don't even have to be on crypto Twitter. You could just be a normal ass fucking human being. If you saw an advertisement for Blockbuster, you would stop what you were doing and you would want to know, did I just go back in time? What am I looking at right now? And you would immediately become interested in what you were seeing, because you would have a hard time even believing what you were seeing. So, like, imagine that. They're forcing you to look at the car wreck. That is Blockbuster. And if they can some way incentivize you through a financial means, monetary incentive to use their platform, shit, that's going to be like super hard to compete with.
That's so interesting. So, do you feel that resurrecting brands that meant something? Because Blockbuster, if you remember, I mean, I remember renting tapes, and I always ended up paying all those fees and fines and late charges. And I much prefer Netflix to it, to be honest, just because I don't have to deal with taking something physically out and bringing it back. So, you don't feel that they have any sort of bad connotation to the brand that you have to overcome and explain to people that it's a blockchain brand, that it's just a recognizable brand, and that's enough?
I think what this kind of does is it kind of showcases what they can use, that nostalgia, and also bring in a new type of clientele, because obviously now you got all of these um young people who grew up with Netflix, and now they're gonna have this kind of web 3 NFT focused service, which it's gonna be really in line with what they're used to, which is the whole world of cryptocurrencies and NFTs and everything like that. What I did see as well is that they want to create a movie pass subscription model, and I don't know how that would work. I'm very curious about a movie pass subscription model for a decentralized streaming platform, and how that would work. How you would pay a subscription as an NFT. It's very interesting, what I'm seeing, and I'm very curious to see what happens next. Really.
So lots of interesting models being floated around. I'm moderating a panel next Wednesday at the Consumer Electronics Show at CES on big technology and banking, how big tech in this case DeFi companies, are going head to head against big banks for the mind share of the customer. And what are the, how are the DeFi products appealing to consumers' pocketbook versus, what they can do in terms of their traditional banking environments. And of course, on that, I pretty much have everyone from the banking industry, so Deloitte, Silicon Valley Bank, and Plaid. So, what do you guys think? What are the opportunities um, for the big banks to kind of participate in this space, if any, in the DeFi space?
Oh, the DeFi space. They would have to literally say, yeah, for the last, I don't know, couple hundred years, we've pretty much taken 99% of the profits and given you one back as a thank you for letting us play with your money. So I think they're going to participate in the blockchain space. I think that they're going to create financial products that are banking and finance, like, ETFs and things like that, but they're not going to allow peer to peer. The whole point of DeFi, decentralized finance, is we cut the banks out of the process. So I think that they're going to perhaps create some products like we have DeFi staking pools, and they'll create products that are more like their CDs, but maybe able to be done using digital currency and on their mobile apps, so it feels more crypto. That's my hallucination if I had to say what I think.
I think that the banks are going to um, um, what they're going to do is adapt some of their services, especially if they're not
I'm
non-face-to-face
I'm
services,
on.
and build actual augmented reality, virtual reality banks, just like Superwater and I think a few others doing the actual Barbados embassy in VR and AR. I think that the banks will kind of have their own kind of AR equivalent in the metaverse as well, where they'll have uh, some some of the functions that you could use in the bank. Maybe they'll even attach some DeFi uh, um, type of borrowing against your crypto or something like that in the metaverse. That's what I envision.
Wow, you added them to the metaverse too. That's going to make the panel very challenging, I think, with the guys that are on it. I don't know if they even thought about the metaverse, but I hear you. I think that's where it's going. King, you had a quick question?
I just wanted to say that I really agree upon what Frank Michael say. I think if we want to understand the metaverse and how it's going to be developed, we just need to see the what we call the 3D world, how it's going to be, because it's going to be a reflection more or less. So I see also, like, for example, today I was in a clothes shop. My friend has a clothes shop here in Ibiza, and they sell homemade clothes. And I saw that they are gonna it's also going to be like stores that they're going to sell, so you're going to be able to buy the whole store in the metaverse with the avatars of the people working there, and then they're going to be able to sell these things. So when they update their collection or their storage, is going to be like a reflection into the metaverse. So you're going to be having people, maybe hundreds of owners, owning the store in the metaverse like a copy, and then they're going to make currency out of it, because you're going to have people coming into the store in the metaverse and buying their clothes. So that's what I see when when I'm trying to think how it's going to develop.
So it takes away sort of the geographical borders, the place that is in Ibiza and everybody has to sort of go there to get their clothes. You all of a sudden you can expand it to be a global sales opportunity, but it's a little bit beyond e-commerce, in terms of the ability.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to have two price tags on the clothes. You're going to have one price tag for buying this in the metaverse, so you can have it in your home closet or whatever, but you can also buy it physical, so then it will be shipped to your home address. And I think this is going to be the next big thing.
I want to say,
And I think
we lost Chris. Go. Chris is in and out of the clubhouse, but I wanted him to talk a little bit about his nostalgia project, which is he did a documentary on the sci-fi club um, association here in Los Angeles that was formed, I think, in the early parts of the 20th century, and that became sort of, I would say, a bedrock of sci-fi with Ray Bradbury and Asimov and Gene Roddenberry and all the top sci-fi authors. And then all of the top tier producers in Hollywood were part of this club, like Steven Spielberg, you know, John Landis, et cetera, et cetera. And so he's resurrecting that with NFTs. They have an art collection that's a sci-fi collection. He's trying to recreate that sort of a global sci-fi club, and you know, invite creators who are producing film, television, and other sci-fi programming to be part of it. So I'm sorry that he's not here to say that, but that goes back to that nostalgia that you were talking about, Chris and Frank. So what do you guys see as the most interesting thing for 2022 that's coming to us, you know, here to the clubhouse and to the world of NFTs, DeFi, and DAOs?
I think what I'm looking forward to the most, is being able to um, actually consume entertainment, and being able to have it mixed together with the world of NFTs. So I have to now buy this NFT, and I'll be able to then experience this augmented reality experience through my phone, and then I'm able to then collect something from the experience that will give me a free pizza in that shop. And then when I go to that shop, they knew that that pizza, I've collected it through the app, so they gave me my free pizza. And then I get a free pass NFT that will give me access to something else. So all of that type of thing is what I'm looking forward to, because I really want to see how um, NFTs can have more value in the real world, as people are get back to their normal life after COVID.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Gene, you have a question?
Yes, thanks for having me on stage, Mariana. My name is Gene Root. I'm the founder of Trace and the chairman of Eightfold Group. We are working on a number of projects, most recently for the last 3.5 years in the fashion industry, textiles and fashion, around implementing blockchain. And I've had a long history, both in the early development of virtual reality, where I worked at Autodesk and Silicon Graphics. But the question I have, it has to do with the model for financing and building organizations, um, talking to the issue of decentralized autonomous organization. I'm long ago, at this point, and far away, use a science fiction iconography. We looked at democracy in the workplace, and it moved into movements for natural capitalism and mutual benefit corporations. And what the question I have here is the model a think global, act local model, such that, for example, two things are happening with the mutual benefit corporations. These are purpose driven corporations, let's say community driven, and they are locally forming versions of themselves now in various countries, particularly widespread in the US now, state by state, and in the UK, a very strong group, and in Europe now. And these efforts are to address the very constitutions, if you will, the statutes of companies, um, mostly medium and large enterprises, but small entities as well, along a set of standards that are associated with the organization. This seems to me to be the way in which DAOs will have great impact in 2022. For example, the Open Collective Group, which is providing services to bring organizations with special purpose together in a collectivized form. And then underneath those are DAOs with their own governance and their own, let's say, a token economics model. So I wanted to just put to the stage here, what are your thoughts? And I'll use one example. Many of my friends formed companies that were purpose driven in the food and beverage industry, for example, or in the fashion industry. And then their brands were, let's say, acquired by, on the fashion side, LVMH or Kering, or H&M, and then others in food and beverage. And the one example I'll just put to the table here is Danone, who acquired Stonyfield Farms, a organic yogurt company. Stonyville Farms being a mutual benefit corporation. Pretty rigorous standards to achieve organizational metrics, very, very detailed. And I happen to know the database manager at, uh, at the mutual benefit group, and they are very, very keen on blockchain, and it's very, very significant. Can we imagine that brands are going to really be able to adopt or integrate such companies as like Stonyfield was integrated into Danone, and Danone announced that they are going to be a mutual benefit corporation? How is that? Is that counter to, or is that? Um, uh, are we in a polarized world where that's sort of happening over there, and we're all over here creating change, or is there some middle way? My name is Gene. I'm complete. Thank you.
Wow, that's a lot, Gene. So the DAOs have been formed on the decentralized network side, on the blockchain side, in one format or another for about, a decade now. Some more formalized, after the DAO was quote unquote invented, but really they've been run by, groups of people with mutual interest. um, Now the purpose driven organizations organizing as, mutual benefit companies is not something that we deal with day in and day out, but it seems to me that it's in the same realm of trying to sort of create a better world, using the power of the community. I don't see it as a dichotomous issue. I also feel that many of the blockchain companies are purpose driven. They may not say that in the way that they're approaching things, but at the end of the day, there is a huge purpose driven mission in almost every project I've been involved in, whether it's, banking the unbanked, or helping, women get access to capital, or untapped communities get, that's part of our mission, getting access to capital and resources. It really, there's a lot of purpose driven building going on in the blockchain space. Ken, you want to say something?
I just want to agree what you said there, Mariana, that I feel that for me, that is building communities. NFTs are really, really useful, because what we can do when we build the communities is that we can bring in artists that can live in the community and produce NFTs. So then what we are going to do is we're going to sell our community as one NFT with all the NFTs in it that the artists are producing. And also over time, when you buy, for example, the community in the metaverse, you're also going to get all the NFTs that is being produced in the future as well. So it's going to be a long-term investment for those who buy the community in the metaverse. So I'm really seeing this package of working with NFTs, how to sell it. So you sell one NFT with thousands of NFTs in it. So it's really, really good, because it creates currency and sustainability for us to upgrade the community and allow artists to do what they want to do, and let everybody follow their passion. And I feel that the blockchain is really allowing that and bringing that in. So I seeing it as a very, very useful tool for us. So yeah.
So, in essence, it may not state that it's purpose driven, but DAOs and NFT drops that were happening here in the clubhouse, there's always an underlining theme, especially with people that are here on the stage today, of really being purpose driven, and that's why they're part of this community and not, you know, some other type of business. So I think that's a good point, that you guys have made, both Gene and King, that there is a real, I would say, a symbiotic relationship between the two. We ran out of time again today. I want to thank everyone for participating. This is one of my favorite panels here today, just like yesterday. Thank you all for coming back, and want to wish everyone Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to many more interesting discussions in the Clubhouse and in our Zoom sessions. You can sign up for a newsletter up there on top, and look forward to seeing you guys in 2022.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, have a happy new year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Happy New
guys.
Year. Bye.
2022. Be ready.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.